So today is the first Facebook Live that we are starting with the Your Way Together, talking about cooperative and business development in Indigenous communities. So today, I'm really happy to have a friend of mine, Brendon, from GDI, speaking with us today to talk about the Gabriel Dumont Institute and some of the programs and services that are available for Métis entrepreneurs. So welcome, Brendon.
Thank you for the introduction, Trista, and I'm happy to be here.
Brendon, for those who are unfamiliar with GDI, can you provide just what GDI is?
Sure. So I'll kind of begin introducing myself. My name is Brendon Demerais. I grew up in Saskatchewan, and I went to the U of S here at the College of Commerce. So I have a pretty good understanding of our province. Myself, I'm Métis as well. So a good understanding of our Métis community, especially in northern Saskatchewan. So I'm happy to chat with you guys today, and I appreciate your patience. I know the start time was a bit delayed, but yeah, it's a little bit about myself. In terms of GDI, so if you're not aware, Gabriel Dumont Institute, that's the name that GDI kind of has become, just because it's shorter. But we've been around for quite a while. We were over 40 years old. 40, not 4. So we've been around here for a while. Our bread and butter is in regards to providing training and training funding for the Métis people of Saskatchewan. So we've been doing that for quite a few years. You might have heard of a SUNTEP program. That's Métis specific College of Education, where we do train a lot of teachers, and over the years we've graduated thousands through that program, and you see the impact on people going through K-12. There's a lot more Indigenous teachers because of that program. Outside of the SUNTEP program, we have funding for university students. If you're looking to take training, there's some funding available for that. Skills training programs, whether it's at Sask Polytech or some of them offered by GDI ourselves, we have a lot of stuff like that. We also have an apprenticeship program. So if you're thinking of getting involved in the trades, we have some funding specifically for people who are wanting to get indentured. Even if you employ people, we have a wage subsidy program to help Indigenous people get employed and open new job positions for them. So outside of the training and the education piece, we also have a publishing department that's focused on culture and heritage. So, they have programming related to a lot of Métis art, traditional cultural activities, whether it's knitting, creating jackets or Métis sashes, jewelry, beading. There's just a wide gamut of cultural activities at workshops. If you haven't been to our headquarters in Saskatoon, we have a Métis museum where we have a lot of artwork as well as some artifacts, and we even have kind of like a replica Métis kind of style house in our building, which is cool. Something you would see obviously in a museum. So yeah, come check it out. And in terms of the province of Saskatchewan, we have coverage in quite a few different Métis communities, all the way north as the Loche, and then further south to Yorkton. So we have quite a few different offices as well. So that's kind of like a overview of some of GDI's core programs. Maybe I'll talk specifically about the one that I work for. Does that sound good, Trista?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, cool. So yeah, outside of the training programs that we have, GDI structurally, we're an affiliate of the Métis Nation Saskatchewan, so we're kind of like the educational arm, I guess, of MNS. But even within that, we have other supports. So the program that I manage, it's called the Pathways for Entrepreneurship program. So our key support areas within this program, if you're a Métis entrepreneur or thinking of starting a business, there's probably some supports you can take advantage of. So the first area is that we offer some in-house workshops. So these are usually free to attend, but some of them are designated for brand new people who are thinking about entrepreneurship. We have a workshop where we go over basic kind of startup costs of starting a business, and then we simplify it and create kind of a model that you can play with to figure out what sales targets you'll need to hit to cover your variable costs and your fixed costs. And we also talk about, risk, taking the leap of faith and starting a business, but also some of the Métis lending agencies that are out there. So I won't get too deep into that right now, but we do offer workshops. We also have a dedicated business counselor. His name is Gabriel, funny enough. It's easy to remember, I guess. But yeah, he kind of helps you navigate the ecosystem of supports that are available to Métis entrepreneurs. There's a lot out there. I won't speak in depth about it, but we have two really awesome grant and lending agencies. So say you're thinking of starting a restaurant, restaurants are usually super competitive and not the best business models, but just for simplicity, say you want to start a restaurant. If it's going to cost, there's some really lending and grant agencies that you might be able to tap into to make that possible. So usually you'll only need about 5 to 10% cash savings of your own. So that would be, 5 to 10 grand, and potentially up to 40% might be able to be leveraged through a non-repayable grant contribution from either Clarence Campo Development Fund or SMEDCO. And then a big chunk of the project they can also fund with either 0% loan or a loan that has a pretty low interest rate. So those two agencies are there to really kind of help you make your dream a reality. And they will beat any kind of bank or traditional lender by miles in terms of loans and grants. So check those guys out first if you're thinking about it. But yeah, what else do we do with our Pathways program? We have funding for training. So if you're wanting to maybe take a longer term entrepreneur style course or something online, we can usually accommodate requests like that. If you aren't aware, there's some providers already in the province that have these kind of crash courses created and set up. So one of them is called the MNP Self-Employment Program. There's another one called the Praxis School for Entrepreneurship. But anyways, we have funding for programs like that. Also, if there's a specific online training course that you're thinking of taking, we can usually look into stuff like that. Not only do we have supports for entrepreneur type training, we also can support industry specific training. So if you're an existing entrepreneur and there's some training that you'd like to take to improve yourself or provide better services or products to your business, we can usually fund that as well if it makes sense. And then outside of training, we have a funding portfolio to assist with professional services or consulting. So obviously when you're an entrepreneur, you're not going to be an expert. You're not going to be a lawyer. You're not going to be a CPA accountant, and you're probably not a professional business planner, or at least a professional plan writer. So in those cases where you're better served with expert guidance or knowledge, we do have some funding to support people in those instances. And we also have a transitional allowance for brand new startups. It's kind of like tapping into an EI fund for 6 months that we are able to put people on while they're kind of starting those first few months of startup, when typically you're not making a lot of cash. So yeah, we have that as well as a $500 bonus incentive when people make their first customer sale. So anyways, that's kind of an overview of our Pathways program. Supports for aftercare stuff. We don't provide the loans and grants directly. We would refer you to our Métis specific lending agencies. For Indigenous clients, they have a similar program called the SEAF, or Saskatchewan Indian Equity Fund. But anyways, whether you're First Nations or Métis, we can, give you the right referrals where needed, as well as there's a lot of other stuff out there. Whether you're a youth entrepreneur or someone with a disability, there's programs for stuff like that too. So yeah, that's kind of a overview of the Pathways program, as well as the role that I play in it. I know you kind of about an hour ago or a couple hours ago, you sent me some questions. So do you want me to roll into those ones, or do you want to ask me something else?
No, sure, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Trista sent me an email with a couple follow-up questions. One of them was any standout projects that are memorable or that I've worked with. I won't like drop names just because I haven't asked them if they are okay with that. I'm sure they would be. But yeah, we have some really cool projects. We have one client who's involved in the trades, and specifically he operates in northern Saskatchewan. So his business model, when you think of a carpenter, a plumber, heating guy, you would think it'd be a typical business where you'd have maybe a shop space and a pickup truck and so forth. But anyways, this client of ours, we were able to actually put them and sponsor some funding to get a commercial pilot license so that they can fly a fairly small float plane, but they're able to put water heaters, plumbing equipment, and fill the thing pretty good with tools and supplies. And because of that, he's able to fly in to his own job in really remote places in northern Saskatchewan where there are no roads and there's no rail. We're talking about remote hunting lodges on some of our really remote northern lakes, as well as some mines and mine cleanup sites. Sometimes they're served by private airlines, but a lot of the places it's float plane only. So because of this training, he's obviously able to open up his target clientele as well as his potential market. It's a niche market, obviously, but that was one kind of unique project. Another one was from Rate when we started our project in 2018. We had a lady who was selling at our workshop. She pitched it as lactation products, and people were like, well, what does that mean? I'm selling cookies. So people were confused and they assumed there was some kind of like breast milk in these cookies that she was selling. And they were like, no, you got it all wrong. These cookies promote breast milk production for women who have had children, right? And at first it seemed like a really different product that seemed quite niche. And, there were the doubts about the health effectiveness of it and kind of the science behind it. But through the years, she's really grown exponentially and evolved her product line to a lot of different kind of niche products for new mothers. And her sales have been great. Distribution channels have been great. And it's just really cool to see a small business idea flourish into something that's commercially viable and that's grown a lot. So those are a couple examples of clients that we've worked with that they're new, innovative ideas, and they fill a niche or they provide some kind of competitive advantage that we like to see. So yeah, I have a bunch more that I could talk about, but I don't want to take all of your time today. But yeah, and the last question that Trista kind of mentioned was, I don't know if I have the wording memorized, but where do I see opportunities with cooperatives, or what kind of input would I have on that? One thing I've seen in terms of successful cooperatives, a lot of times you think of starting a business, it's quite daunting and it's really scary. or you start to put the math together and you figure out what are the startup costs going to be to make this project a reality. And it doesn't take long for you to hit 6 figures, 7 figures, well over $100,000 for a very simple business. But if you've done your market research, you might see some opportunity in these larger projects. Or maybe personally, you don't have every skill set that's needed to run this business. So what I've seen, especially in northern Saskatchewan, is that there are a lot of opportunities that could be approached from a cooperative business model, where you have people with certain skills in the community that are going to be needed for the project. I know a couple of years back now, the town of Isle Cross, they opened a fish processing plant, and obviously that requires, getting the commercial fishermen on side, getting the capital to open the plant, securing distribution networks and having a sales team and so forth. So it's a big project. You think it sounds simple, but that are needed. It's not easy, but at the end of the day, the whole community can benefit. There's more employment that's local. The fishermen get better pricing for their catch. They have, a secured buyer. So there's a lot of opportunity where you need to pool resources. And if you have the right team, the right relationships, a lot of opportunities are possible. So, if you think it's too much or it's too big of a dream, or it's too scary to do yourself, maybe talk to people in your community, talk to mentors or other successful entrepreneurs around, and get their input, get their involvement, because there might be an opportunity to set up a co-op. So that's kind of my Trista.
Well, thank you for answering the questions that and I over the past few years that I've been working with cooperatives and really looking at Indigenous communities. One of the main lessons that I've learned is looking at opportunities for and seeing the abundance within our communities, whether or not it's knowledge base or mapping out organizations and institutions in your area that you may not be aware of. So I really want to thank you because this really helps, especially for our the Métis people of Saskatchewan who are looking to start businesses, because I know entrepreneurship is deeply ingrained in the Métis culture and that there are these options and programs available. You answered my questions today. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, yeah, I kind of rolled through them. I didn't know how the structure would be. I'm not sure if there's any questions or interaction, because all I see is the Zoom meeting. I don't see the live Facebook group, but if anyone wants to follow up with me or inquire about our programs at GDI, I'd be happy to help them. I assume you have my information that you could share with them.
Yes, I'll share your information.
Sure. So I'm open to any conversations if people are wanting to chat, whether it's entrepreneurship or other programs at GDI. We always have new stuff coming in the pipeline too. For example, we're working on some new Métis health initiatives. So there's going to be potentially some more training programs in that space. So if people are interested, there's a lot that we can chat about. So
okay. Well, thank you for your time today, Brendon, and I apologize for the technical difficulties we had a little while ago.
Take care, everybody. And take care, Trista. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.